I'm Jimmy Nguyen from nChain, and also I'm founding president of the Bitcoin Association. I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person in India, so I am speaking from Seattle, Washington, right here in the United States. And so I know you're there talking about the importance of blockchain technology and how it can be used in India and around the world. And I want to spend today with my time talking to you about the original blockchain, which is Bitcoin. Okay. Should I start again? Okay. Hi, so I'll start again. Hi, I'm Jimmy Nguyen from nChain, and I'm also founding president of the Bitcoin Association. And I'm sorry I can't be there with you all in person today in India. I really wanted to come, but I am speaking to you from my home in Seattle, Washington, in the United States. I know you're there to talk about the growth of blockchain technology and how it can be used in India and around the world. I want to spend my time for you today talking to you about the original blockchain, which is Bitcoin, and how it's been reborn in the form of Bitcoin SV, which stands for Satoshi Vision, designed to fulfill the original vision of the mysterious creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. It's been 10 years since Bitcoin was birthed to the world, with the Genesis block that started on January 3rd of 2009. And as we know, Bitcoin was the original blockchain. It introduced to the world the advantages of a global public blockchain as opposed to a private or permissioned blockchain project, which is really just a distributed ledger. And it introduced key advantages of a public blockchain, which are that it's decentralized, meaning there's no one company or person in charge. It's permanent data, which is recorded to the blockchain and therefore not changeable once it's recorded, therefore it can be trusted. It's transparent because it's a public blockchain in that the data can be audited and verified by anyone, and that opens up new business models. It's secure because it uses high-grade cryptography to secure the chain and transactions. And finally, it's robust because there are many nodes spread across many geographic areas and many in number, so there's no single point of failure. Those create great advantages that businesses as well as government institutions can use to open up all new processes. But if we're really honest, Bitcoin has not really achieved its true potential in the past 10 years. And that's because developer groups who took control of Bitcoin projects tried to change Bitcoin. They tried to veer away from the original Satoshi vision for what Bitcoin was going to be, which was it was going to be the world's new money, but also the global data ledger and data network of the future. So today I want to explain to you first the history of Bitcoin and why it veered away from the Satoshi vision. Second, how Bitcoin SV now restores that Satoshi vision. And finally, what this means for the use of Bitcoin and its blockchain for enterprise applications in India and across the world. And I'm focusing on Bitcoin SV because it is the vision of Satoshi. It emerged from a contentious hard fork of the Bitcoin Cash network that happened last November that caught a lot of media attention. And I want to spend my time explaining to you why we fought the battle along with our allies at CoinGeek to preserve Bitcoin. To do so, let me show you a few slides and then I'll get back to talking with you myself. So here I'm going to show you so there have been three main variants of Bitcoin that have happened over the years. First, Bitcoin Core, BTC, then Bitcoin Cash, which emerged in 2017, and I'll explain that. And then finally, Bitcoin SV, which, although it's the newest, it's really the original Bitcoin. And why do we believe it fulfills the Satoshi vision? We do believe that it'll be the all-in-one coin that does what all other cryptocurrencies claim they're capable of doing, but can be done in one coin, and will also be the global public ledger of the future. And the reason it's important to look at the history of Bitcoin is to see what happened. So the blockchain started in 2009. Satoshi Nakamoto communicated with the world through email and bulletin board posts for several years. Then at some point disappeared and left the development of Bitcoin in the hands of the developer group, which became known as Bitcoin Core eventually. That development group made changes to the vision of Bitcoin that clearly moved away from what Satoshi envisioned. The biggest restriction they placed on Bitcoin was limiting the block count continuously to 1 megabyte in size, which is very small. A megabyte block will only allow the Bitcoin Core blockchain to average about 3 transactions a second, or at maximum 7 transactions a second. If you want to create the world's new money to rival Visa or MasterCard payment networks, that's nowhere near the data capacity you need, because Global's Visa network averages 2,000 transactions a second, and at its peak scale, 56,000 transactions. So the Bitcoin Core development team for BTC started to take different approaches. Instead of making the blocks bigger and increasing the data capacity of the Bitcoin Core network, they pursued off-chain or layer 2 solutions, such as something called the Lightning Network, which I'm sure you've read about, where instead of processing the payments on the chain, instead you created a second layer, as you can see by the blue arrows here that are above the blockchain, where the payments happen in payment channels between a customer and a merchant. But that, in our view, breaks Bitcoin's economic incentive model, and it's significantly years away from Bitcoin's design. The Bitcoin Core development team also added in a technical change called Segregated Witness, which cuts off the signature data from the transactions, which is very key to what Bitcoin is. So here's a summary of some of the key changes that they wanted to make to the Bitcoin protocol: capping the block size at 1 megabyte, not massively scaling to big blocks, pursuing off-chain or layer 2 solutions, and adding this thing called Segregated Witness, which cuts off the signatures from the transaction and stores it somewhere else. The philosophical difference that emerged is, should the developers be constantly experimenting with changes to Bitcoin protocol, or should we trust in the original design that Satoshi laid out? This disagreement over the scaling of Bitcoin Core led to the creation of Bitcoin Cash in August of 2017, because that was an attempt to fork away and scale bigger and go back to the vision of Bitcoin as electronic cash that can be done quickly and cheaply. And we supported Bitcoin Cash for a number of, a big portion of its time, until we realized last year that the lead development group for Bitcoin Cash, which is Bitcoin ABC, again wanted to make significant changes to the Bitcoin protocol. Changing the transaction ordering for the blocks, adding an opcode called check data sig or data sig verify, which wasn't part of the Satoshi design, and not wanting to scale as quickly or as big as we thought was important. The developed groups also want to add something called Avalanche, which starts moving Bitcoin to a proof of stake model rather than proof of work. And we're even considering shortening the block intervals down to possibly 2 minutes rather than the average of 10 minutes that it is today. And again, that raises this big philosophical difference. Should developers be constantly experimenting with changes to the Bitcoin protocol? And our answer to that is no. It needs to remain stable, because this is what's happened in this diagram. You can see a depiction of Bitcoin's life history, where the chain started, it continued for a while, and then you can see this line that goes up, which says SegWit there, which is what the BTC chains sort of moved away to. And then Bitcoin Cash came along and continued what we thought was the original chain, until it added changes on the bottom, as you can see, to change it again. And we fought to preserve the original design of Bitcoin in Bitcoin SV. We fought a hash war last November to preserve it. Yes? Hello? Yes? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I will talk as if I don't have any. So we And so Bitcoin now is back in the form of Bitcoin SV. We fought a hash war to, here, I'm just going to get myself back on camera then. Hi again. So let me pick up where I was talking, which is about what is Bitcoin SV. So it emerged from the hard fork of the Bitcoin Cash Network last November, and let me explain to you how it restores the Satoshi vision for Bitcoin. One, it keeps a protocol that's stable. Satoshi wrote this himself in an early post back in June of 2010, writing at one point that the nature of Bitcoin is such that once version 0.1 was released, the core design was set in stone for the rest of its lifetime. And I want to repeat that. Satoshi envisioned way back in 2010 that the core design was set in stone for the rest of its lifetime. And the reason that is important is that Satoshi recognized Bitcoin was not going to be just a payment currency. It was going to be a blockchain technology platform. And for big businesses to build on any technology platform, they need a stable protocol. You don't build a house on moving sand. You build a house on a rock-solid foundation. And the big businesses of the world, like I'm sure are in the room with you now, or in India, will only devote time, resources, and money to build their applications on a blockchain if the protocol is stable. And so that's why I explained the changes that the other Bitcoin projects kept wanting to make. Bitcoin Core wanting to change how signatures are stored. Bitcoin Cash wanting to change, for example, transaction ordering or adding new operating codes into the scripting language. And the challenge we have with that is that you'll never get the biggest businesses of the world to build their applications on the Bitcoin blockchain unless the protocol is stable. So our mission with Bitcoin SV is very simple. Restore the original Satoshi protocol that was in the original client software released at the very beginning, and then keep it stable. Don't make any changes so that the big businesses of the world feel comfortable building on top of it. Because we believe the Bitcoin core design that was started by Satoshi has everything it needs to create all of the applications businesses want. The operating codes in it allow creation of tokens, they allow creation of smart contracts, and all the things you think you can do and need on other blockchains can be done on Bitcoin. Secondly, a big key to the Satoshi vision is massive scaling. Satoshi wrote way back in April of 2009 in an email a prediction that at that time, the Bitcoin network could surpass the capacity of the Visa payment card network. And that was using hardware 10 years ago. At this point, we believe that it's important for the blockchain to scale bigger. And that's a challenge businesses have when they're looking for blockchains to build their projects on. Other blockchains, for example, such as Ethereum, have had trouble scaling, even when they have one popular game such as CryptoKitties on it. So we need to begin the scaling roadmap immediately. Bitcoin Core remains locked at 1 megabyte blocks, which is very small. That's the size of a JPEG image file. Bitcoin Cash started at 8 megabyte blocks, and now they're up to 32, which is nice, but nowhere near the size you need to run a big global blockchain. So when Bitcoin SV got birthed in November of last year, we started with a default block size of 128 megabytes, which is significantly larger. And not only did we raise the block cap, our team, in conjunction with the professional stress test team, did tests on the live network and demonstrated that Bitcoin SV could mine blocks of 32 megabytes, 64 and 65 megabytes, and on January 3rd of this year, a pool in China mined a 103 megabyte block on Bitcoin SV. And recently, our development team ran tests on a scaling test network, showing you could do 64 to 100 megabyte blocks on a sustained continuous basis for 24 hours even. And our view is that one day the blocks will get even bigger. Later this year, we'll raise the block cap on Bitcoin SV to 512 megabytes, and next year to 1 to 2 gigabytes. And one day have no limit at all, and let miners configure what block size they want to accept or not and create a competitive fee market. Because one day we believe that the Bitcoin SV network can have 1 terabyte size blocks. That's 1,000,000 megabytes, which is huge. At that scale, you could have a blockchain that does 4 billion Bitcoin transactions every 10 minutes, providing capacity of 7 million transactions a second. And what that means is the Bitcoin network can then become not just a payment system where you send money, but it can be the global data ledger of the future, because you can do all kinds of data transactions, tokens, smart contracts, Internet of Things, communications management, supply chain management, all on this blockchain. So now let me conclude by talking about what this means for enterprise applications for all of you, because that's what you're thinking about. Well, I can tell you there's already a token solution available on the Bitcoin SV blockchain through a contest we and CoinGeek ran last year to find the top tokenization solution. It's available at a website called tokenize.cash. It provides businesses the ability to create 50-some different types of tokens for all kinds of real-world assets, stock of companies, bonds, derivatives, coupons, transportation tickets, anything you can think of. In addition, there are great services out there, companies such as Handcash, which is a company out of Spain that nChain's invested in, which has a great mobile wallet, but also a business API where you can add micropayments for Bitcoin SV into any mobile app or game. And one of the first companies that used it is actually a company in India. It's another Bitcoin SV blockchain project. It's called Keyport TV. It's a video service using the blockchain, kind of like YouTube, but with payments done through Bitcoin SV. So you can make micro payments for paying for video content, just like this video I'm talking to you on today. Instead of paying for the whole video, you can pay by second or by minute with Bitcoin micropayments. And it's a great example of new enterprise applications that can be done. And finally, we're lifting all the limits on Bitcoin that have been placed into its code before. There's a field in Bitcoin transactions called op return, in which you can embed metadata. And the Bitcoin core development team restricted the size of that a long time ago to 80 bytes, which is very small. On a Bitcoin Cash, it's 220 bytes. But our lead developer recently figured out how to lift that size, that data limit, entirely without a consensus protocol change, and let miners configure what they want. And this led to an explosion of creativity by developers around the world, figuring out new usages of this data field. So for example, you could embed any form of metadata now into a Bitcoin transaction, and I can send you both money as well as storing or filing of data and accessing of data. Our developer embedded the entire book, Alice in Wonderland, the text, in a single Bitcoin transaction. Another developer took that and created a serverless website where the whole website displayed the book, Alice in Wonderland, but it was pulled from the Bitcoin transaction data, as opposed to a normal website server. Other developers have embedded music files, video files, a chess game, a clock, all into a single field in a Bitcoin transaction. One company has even created bitcoinfiles.org. It's kind of like Dropbox on the Bitcoin SV blockchain, where you can use Bitcoin transactions to store any type of file, a document, a picture, and you can pay for access and the storage using Bitcoin SV micropayments. So this opens up this whole new world of possibility and means that Bitcoin SV can be the world's data carrier network, the new way to transmit, store, and carry data, which can be merged and combined with transactions that are financial in nature, so that you get the benefit of both payments and data transmission combined into a single transaction. And that's where we think this is headed. Our chief scientist has a project called MetaNet, where he believes, and we've created inventions, which will allow the Bitcoin blockchain to one day subsume the internet, where you could power websites, internet activity, emails, internet search, any type of internet activity and content to be powered through the Bitcoin blockchain. It's all only possible on Bitcoin SV because we have the technical roadmap as well as the scaling plan to get to these huge blocks that are necessary to support a global data ledger of the future. And we think that's the true Satoshi vision. It's why we fought to make sure the original Bitcoin design survived, and we are working hard with companies around the world to bring Satoshi vision to life That's why we think all enterprises around the world should consider building their applications on Bitcoin SV. It can provide the scalability, the stability, as well as the security needed to take advantage of a truly global public blockchain while providing all the benefits that the Bitcoin network provides. So thank you for your time. I hope that was educational.